kind of last thing I do want to just circle back to, Providence. I know we talked about Cooley, but now with Kim English coming in, we talked about the Big East, with Rick Pitino, the impact, Hurley, what he's done at UConn. It's obviously a tough situation in terms of kind of the Cooley cloud. Obviously, the upside many people are saying of a Kim English is understanding NIL, connecting with players. Not necessarily what you think of the hire, but just kind of what is going to be crucial for him and what do you see in that hire for Providence in a very important time for them?
Well, I think he needs to understand what the Big East is, and I think he needs to understand what recruiting is in the East Coast. He's never really recruited at this level in the East Coast. He's been on Tennessee's staff, so he has to understand what it means to recruit the great player. But basketball is a lot different in the SEC than it is anywhere else right now, with the amount of money that they have to throw at players through collectives or through NIL money once they arrive. I mean, I take a look at that league. There's three teams from that league who are in the Sweet 16, three
Yeah.
teams from the Big East that are in the Sweet 16. He's going to have to show me he can recruit. I don't know that he has the ability to get as many qualified transfers as Ed did. I mean, Ed knew how to work that part of it as well as anybody in the East Coast. I'm waiting to see. And look, at least Providence did the right thing. When he left, they didn't wait around because we all know what's happened at Notre Dame. They have no players in the roster and no coach.
Yeah.
And maybe they can convince Micah Shrewsbury to come from Penn State by offering $5.5 million. But whoever takes that job, if they take a hard line on undergraduate transfers and really put a lot of emphasis on only taking fifth years, it's going to be a lot harder because Notre Dame has lost its way in terms of recruiting. When Digger was there, and Johnny D was there. They were very good at recruiting the eastern cities for players. They recruited New York, they recruited Philadelphia, and most of all they recruited Washington D.C. They've lost all those bases. Mike Berry may have been from Washington D.C., may have had the Morgan pedigree and the Duke pedigree, but in the last 3 years, they haven't signed anybody of any consequence from any of the eastern cities. And you can't operate at Notre Dame unless you understand the East. And it's something that also applies at Providence, where you've got to be able to recruit New England. I mean, there are a lot of good players coming out of prep schools at New England. There are a lot of pretty good players coming out of the state of Connecticut if you can steal one or two away from UConn. But he is going to be in direct competition for a lot of the same players with Danny Hurley,
Yeah.
and he's going to have to show that he can stand up and recruit. I have not seen enough of him as a coach. They were middle of the pack in the Atlantic 10. They didn't get to a semifinal this year, so I have no idea whether he's capable of winning at this level or not. But there will be pressure because somebody needs to tell him how passionate the Providence fan base is. I
Yeah.
mean, they will, if you give them a winner, they will fill the dunk every night for home games. But they will also judge you harshly if you don't win.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I don't know.
I
I
agree.
don't know what you think about that, but
No, I fully agree. And I think, I do, to your point about moving quickly, I do think, Nap should and it is getting credit for that because I think,
they should.
you wait 3 more days and yeah, everyone's in that portal. I think I think the concerns with English are all warranted in terms of, it was only 2 years at George Mason. Now
Right.
he turned it into a 20-win program. They hadn't done that for about 6 years. Um, I think the upside of him being a former player, his recruiting, connecting with players is his strength. And I think the biggest questions will probably be in game, changes, management, X and O's.
I just don't know. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he can't do it, but I haven't seen enough of him to know what his style of play and how it will be and how it will affect them.
Yeah.
Look, if he takes anything from Rick Barnes, I hope it's defense because toughness is winning in this tournament
Yep.
this year. Rick is where he's at because he was physically tougher than Texas when they played them.
Yeah.
He was physically tougher than with Alabama when he played them, and he was physically tougher in Kansas when he played them. I
Yeah.
mean, so he's had a lot of pretty good success down there, and I'm hoping some of it rubs off in Kim.
No, absolutely. No, me too. And I think too, we're gonna see in the coming weeks is does English have a rebuilding project where most of the guys go into the portal, or is he able to keep Hopkins, Carter, Pierre, some of these younger guys? Then that'll determine the expectations, if you know what I mean.
Well, I think it's a good sign that none of them have made a decision yet,
Yes,
and I
agreed.
think I think a lot of it has to do to your point that the school went right out and got somebody immediately. It was the best strategy that they could use because you know Cass loves a vacuum.